Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I am the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. This is, I think, one of those essential conversations that we should be having regularly. And so we do it every month. It's a sales and marketing, global sales and marketing conversation. We don't all know everything we need to know about sales and marketing. Maybe Bernard and Charles, who are in the room, do, but we mortals, mere mortals, don't. So I think it's important not only that we have information, but that we have access to people who are amazing. And everybody who's going to speak today undoubtedly is amazing. And I have the highest regard for both Bernard and Charles. And you'll see if you haven't already heard from them and know them, you'll be impressed as I am. I'd like to start the conversation today by saying, besides that sales and marketing is important, uh, I'd like to give a shout out to Bernard Ablola because in working with him these last several months and we'll be working with him more closely going forward. I've really learned a lot about marketing, especially the connection between marketing and sales, and making the connection, which is kind of important. You're not only like talking about it in an ethereal kind of concept, but actually making the connection and doing something about it. And even though I'm not fully there yet in terms of all the things he's taught us, I'm looking forward to learning more and more from him because he's just a wealth of knowledge about it. And as an example of that, I told my wife, today is Friday, I think I told her Tuesday, that I had probably the worst day in a long time. I just could not get to anything I wanted to get to. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to ask them how they're doing and to be able to help them. And all I felt like I did on Tuesday was respond to stuff and just push things forward. And it was so frustrating. And she said, "Well, why don't you just take some time and just carve out and talk to people and call people," which, yeah, I think we all know we should be doing that, right? So her words were absolutely correct, and I was a dummy for not doing that to begin with. And so I I started to make the transition on Wednesday, and I finally on Thursday was in a position where I could do that. So I had the best day yesterday. It was so amazing. It was so fantastic. And so Bernard, thank you for helping me to focus because that's really, a key aspect of what we're talking about here is clear out the nonsense and really get to what's really important. And I'd like to give a couple of examples of that were very instructive for me. One is on the topic of ghosting. So we have a member, and they'll remain nameless, but their logo is near the top of the Global Chamber sponsor list. And there's someone I care deeply about, and they're amazing. And the company is, and the person that I have been dealing with for years. But the last probably 2 months have been really hard to get a hold of him, and his renewal was coming up. And so as I'm starting to, kind of in the back of my mind is like, is he drifting away? Is he not seeing, am I not doing my job and our job in terms of giving the value? And is there something going on in his life that I should be aware of? And so I've been more attentive to him and asking questions, but he's been very unresponsive. And so the last couple weeks in particular, I just said I was going to move forward on doing something like I've got to reach out and have a conversation with him. But I couldn't. Turned out he was on vacation for the last couple weeks. And so he did finally respond on Monday and said something about he was coming back on a plane. And I thought, again, I was in my mind, I was thinking, I mean, I love this guy. We add a lot of value. We've done a lot. But is he drifting? What's going on here? So he then in texting exchange, he said, Wednesday and Thursday are better. And so I said, great. So how about these times on Tuesday, or these times on Wednesday, or these times on Thursday? So we got all the way through Wednesday and he didn't respond. So again, I'm thinking, where is this going? It's like, what am I doing wrong? It's like, how do I get through? Because I've already done the LinkedIn texting and the phone texting, and I've called him and left messages. I've sent emails. I've got all of this happening the last couple of months, and it's just like not coming together. So here it converged with me wanting to make calls on Thursday. So I got up on Thursday. I get up usually around 3 in the morning. That's because I like the morning time. I get a lot done. It's really quiet. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to put something on our calendars. So it's 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, 8:30 a.m. Central time. I put a meeting between the two of us, and I sent a text, and I sent, did I call him? Sure, I did send an email. I think I responded to the email that he had said he was going to be available Wednesday, Thursday. So an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours went by, and he responded. I saw the message that he had accepted the offer to meet. It's like, okay, great. So that's good. I finally am going to have a meeting and talk to him. So we start the conversation. And I'm asking questions, right? The Charles Bernard approach, right, is ask a lot of questions, like what's going on, because I sincerely want to know like, how are you doing, personally and in the business, and try to find some things that we can work on together. And this is where my day turned so wonderful. Is like there's so many things, and he opened up on all these other things, and it was, in fact, after the meeting, I was telling Cesar earlier, he sent me 3 long emails of 3 different opportunities that we had been talking about, like long distance, but not really digging into. Finally, we had a chance to talk about it more in depth, and they're great opportunities, huge opportunities, hundreds of $1 million of opportunities type things. So he wrote brilliantly, and he did admit it was, well, I guess I can't disclose all the details that he said, because then I'll give away his name. But basically, he had used AI in combination with his own knowledge and wrote like books of amazing information, spectacular. So so towards the end of the call, I'm thinking, oh my God, what an amazing conversation. And he is amazing. And I love it. I want to give you a virtual hug. And I said, by the way, at the end, and maybe, I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but this is the way I normally do it. I say, by the way, your membership is due. And how do you feel about that? And he said, oh, I already texted my assistant in Atlanta, and she'll have it done by next week. And so I was like, okay. So any kind of fear that I had was just weird, right? I just didn't have the information. So for me, the takeaway was, don't assume, and maybe number one, reach out to people, talk to people, ask people questions. It's so essential, because you don't know what you don't know. And by asking and talking, you find out a lot of information, and you end up. There was one big opportunity that we had been talking about but hadn't fully realized. There were these two other things that came up that are spectacular that we didn't have a chance to talk about until we actually went through the point. So anyway, Bernard, did I screw up in some way there? Does that resonate with you? And how does that relate to what your topic is going to be today? Because you're going
Well,
to be
thank
talking about how to bring all this together for us.
well, thank you very much, Doug, and the Global Chamber and the team, amazing team. Super excited and honored to be on this call with Charles Bernard and Dan. I see a number of people, Mila and Donald. But I think, Doug, to you, it's back to connections and people and relationships. And that's why we're all here, regardless of the sales or marketing. I think the underlying theme is building a human connection, because human connection builds trust, and trust creates deals and sales, if that's what's happening. Um, Doug, do you want me to kick off and kind of share a little bit of myself and we go around the round table? Is that the best approach for today? You might be on mute.
You're on mute, Doug.
I guess it's better when I'm unmute myself, right? I was sitting back and relaxing and waiting to hear the words of wisdom from you. So yeah, if you'd like to kick off and say a few things, and then we want to probably go to Charles next, and we can go through and have some different conversations from folks. Thank you for leading us off today. You are amazing.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, I'll just introduce myself and we'll kick it up to Charles and we'll open up the discussion. My name is Bernard Blola. I'm located here in Orange County with my wife and my two young boys under the age of 5. One of them, we call him a cute terrorist. He's the guy that buzzes in the room at 2 a.m. demanding pancakes, and I'm the one cooking them. So sometimes I look messy. Sometimes I wear the same shirt as the night before. But my story is this. I believe that you are one post away. One post away. When I talk about that is I started posting social media specifically in 2025 because in 2024, we lost a large client from my marketing services company. And that one large client paid for several headcount. And me and my wife were looking at each other. It's like, what do we do? Do we shrink or do we expand? And I decided to expand. So what I did was I turned the camera on myself and I created short form videos. And those videos, and I'll share my screen here, those videos started really easy, just kind of opening the camera, dealing with the camera, dealing with the audio, and figuring it out. Posted one video, nothing happened. Posted 10 videos, nothing happened. Posted 20 videos, nothing happened. I was like, oh, I better study hooks. I better study visual. I better study something. This video took off day 28. This video started taking off. This is going to about hit 1 million, has close to 1,000 comments. This video is going to hit 1 million, quarter of a million, quarter of a million. I built a system last year that I ended up posting 2,200 times last year alone across TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Um, and it changed everything. Leads come in daily, opportunities come in daily. People like Doug come into my world, and people that I didn't know just started coming in. Obviously, business started closing, relationships started closing, speaking engagements, joint ventures, investors coming out to speak, things of that nature. So I believe, and I'll leave this with you, I believe you are one post away. Social media is free. It is completely free. There's billions of people that are on these platforms. If you look at Facebook, there's 3.2 billion people on Facebook alone. YouTube, there's 2.85. Instagram, 2 billion people. TikTok, 1.7 billion people. LinkedIn, 1.3 billion people. And it costs nothing to post. Absolutely free. You could open up your camera and you could reach hundreds, if not millions of people literally in 10 minutes, less than that. So I just want to leave you with that is I'm happy to be part of the discussion and share what I've built in the last year and how you could do it too. If you bought a television ad right now, it'll cost you 20K a week locally, if not more nationally. If you bought a radio or a TV ad or a billboard, we're talking 3 grand every single week. Social media, if you buy paid advertising, every click is about $1 to $8, if not $15 on LinkedIn. I generated 300,000 clicks last year, all for free. That's over $1 million in free ads if you take the average of $4 per click. I guarantee if you have $1 million in free ads, you will grow your business, and it's completely free. So anyway, I'll leave you at that. Thank you for having me, Doug. I appreciate that. Charles, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much. The way Bernard combines the visual aspects, if you're not following him on LinkedIn, you should, visual, graphic, and video, and then brings it together with events, and then has a feedback loop and a loop that ties in that content with the next steps. Bernard is a master at that, of bringing the next steps, and some of the things he talks about in his programming of during the marketing aspects of bringing it to the next step, and during the sales process of the circle back. I mean, Bernard, that's something that's when you describe it, it's very simple stuff, but at the end of the day, most people don't do a lot of that. What's your advice when people are looking to find ways to connect sales and marketing and bringing to actual results? What are the one or two things that people need to keep in mind to be able to close that loop?
I think the first thing, and I can only speak through what I did, was I think the first thing is mindset. I didn't post for 20 years. I could count how many times I posted on LinkedIn. It was literally 7 times. And that back against the wall, there's a book called 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Beautiful book. And he talks about the back against the wall strategy. When your back is against the wall, you have to basically fight to death to get out of it. So when we lost that large client, I was in fight mode. And my mindset was like, oh, I better do something different than I'm doing in these last couple years. So I looked online and I saw that short form video had the highest ROI, return on investment, the highest. You all know it. If you put that, you've seen it, whether if you have kids or niece or nephew, even yourself, the first thing you picked up today was your phone. And it's probably the last thing you put down. And the first thing that people consume is video. So I said, okay, I better just, if I'm going to do something, I better do the one that will get the highest leverage. And that's video, short form video. People watch video all day. So I turned on the camera dog and said, let me just set a mindset goal of let me just post every single day for 365 days and just see what happens. And I'm not going to miss a day. So I remember holding the baby in one hand and posting a video on the other, just because it was like 11:59. I'm like, Tiffany, I have to get this video out. I told myself I have to get this video out. So let me do it. So I think number one started with mindset. And once that started happening and you hold yourself to that mindset and you hold yourself to the same standard that you do for your clients, all of us do this, right? Like we will get on a client if you're a professional service firm or a consultant or you have a business, you hold your clients, your word to your clients higher than you hold to yourself. And I did that for many years, right? So I said, what if I just treat myself like a client, like the most important client? I won't miss a meeting. I won't miss creating content. I won't miss the things that I told myself, those goals that I would do. I don't miss it for my clients. Why would I miss it for myself? So first thing, Doug, was the mindset of creating, because creating is actually hard. It's something that you have to constantly do, and it's something strange for most people. It's very unusual to turn on the camera and talk, because then you get judged. People see you. A lot of people like it. However, there's tons and millions of people on this device. So I said I better reach them, and this is the way to do it. So I think that's one way. And then two is just tell your story of what you do to other people, and someone's going to raise their hand and say, "Well, I want that. I need that, what you're talking about." It literally is that simple. If you just tell your story about what you do and your expertise is not for everybody. Remember, we talked about these billions of people in the world. All I need is a few handful of customers to have a successful business, but you have an audience of billions. So I think is telling your story, what you do beautifully, Doug, through connection and human connection and building relationships. So amplifying you. And that's what social media does. That's what AI does. It amplifies us. But most of the times we don't leverage it. And the power of this in our pocket is tremendous. It is completely tremendous. And then back to the word, I'm Asian. It's free. It's literally free. You can literally turn it on, talk to people, and get a customer. And I've never seen this type of power that we're having in our pockets.
I ask everyone, we're in the to feel free to reach out, raise your hand, or just interrupt to ask questions. You're in the Global Chamber monthly sales and marketing conversation. We've got sales experts, we've got marketing experts, we've got business experts, we've got a variety of Global Chamber, mostly members, and a couple of visitors. So welcome if you're a visitor. We encourage you to connect up with everyone here. Also encourage everyone to put their LinkedIn profile in the chat area and let us know more about who you are and who you're looking to meet up with and anything else you'd like to share. And of course, let us know your thoughts and your comments and from your own experience. Let's let Charles speak next, and also encourage you to hang on with any questions for both Bernard and Charles after they've both spoken. Charles is an expert not just on sales and on the buying process, but on artificial intelligence. He had a sales marketing business criteria for success. He still has it. It's not past tense. But he's got a new company, relatively new company called Calavia. There's a C there, and it takes the sales process and incorporates AI. He was way ahead of the curve regarding that. And so, Charles, you've got the process. You know how that works. You know how to systematize it. You systematize it for medium and larger companies. And you certainly know how it works in any size company. What would you like to share today? I know it had to do with warmth, which is certainly something we're all experiencing here this summer. How is your summer going, and what would you like to share?
Summer's going great. I'm in New York. I'm in the financial district. I'll share a true story. So my name is Charles Bernard, and I was just listening to Bernard. Great talk. I'm at a party many, many years ago and go into the kitchen where everyone seems to hang out at parties. And I meet this person, and he reaches out and says, "My name's Bernard. Nice to meet you." And then I meet this other guy standing next to him, and he reaches his hand out and he says, "My name is Charles." And they go, "What's your name?" I said, "You're not going to believe this." So I'm pleased that many years later, I'm back with a Bernard and a Charles Bernard. So I'd like to talk about a concept that I'm exploring, which is relatively new, based on many years of experience, but sometimes reframing things seems to unlock a key that wasn't unlocked before and puts a lot of stuff into focus. And that is what I'm calling zero to hero. And zero to hero is a concept that we at Calavia and Criteria for Success and working with all our clients are really working hard and doubling down on. And it's been an issue for years for many companies and many sales consulting companies and many sales trainers. I used to be a Sandler trainer, and so I speak from experience in terms of hearing this particular pain point. I'm curious if everybody on this call has the same pain point, and that is, you guys are great in the training world. You come in, you tell us how to run meetings. That's great. That's kind of nice. You tell us how to interact with prospects once we have them. That's nice. But almost nobody gives us more at bats. Can you help us? No, sorry. All we do is work with people when you already got them on the line. So the zero to hero is when you have zero, nobody on the line, no one. How do you get at bats? How do you go from zero to hero? So I'll give you an analogy so you understand what I mean, perhaps. And that is, think of dating, because I think sales oftentimes and prospecting is like dating. I'd be curious if anyone agrees or disagrees, but you're at a bar, zero. You meet someone right next to you, and you're kind of in the dating game. You're in your 20s, 30s, whatever age. You don't have to be young. You could be at any age. And you're looking to meet someone, and hopefully this could be the one. Bar, zero. Don't know anything about this person. So that's the zero stage. So what are you going to do? You're going to chat. You're going to maybe get to know each other, and you're going to have a first date. First date, maybe you're checking each other out. Do I even want to go? Big step is the second date. What do you do at a second date? Well, you kind of make sure the person that you've met isn't an axe murderer and doesn't have some crazy background that you're not going to like. And so second dates, you weed out a lot of people between first and second date. So woohoo, second date, not bad. And then by the time you get to a third date, things are starting to be serious. They're not an axe murderer. You kind of like them. And so maybe it's third, fourth date, you pick, you get intimate. I'm not going to go there. You guys figure out what that means. You get intimate, and at some point, I'm going to say it's probably one or two dates after you've crossed that intimate threshold that you become committed. Like, I'm not going to look for other people on the dating app. I'm not going to go elsewhere. I'm going to stay committed to this individual. Isn't that like prospecting? I mean, I want someone on this call to tell me that's not exactly like prospecting. I'd be curious. I really want to be challenged. No, it's nothing like that. Not at all. I would say then maybe you haven't done any prospecting ever in your life. So my idea is what does it take in a business world to go from zero prospects to, or what does it take to get a name, a number, an email address, and have that relationship go from zero to hero? And hero, in my analogy, is that committed step, right? Where you get the opportunity. Now I can figure out how to talk to them better, run a good meeting. I have a deal on the line, etc. So I would like us to consider that there are actual steps that we can take. And because we're not thinking about this rigorously enough, we tend to, as professionals, collapse everything into there's prospecting where you meet someone or they respond to an email, an opportunity. That's like saying you meet someone at a bar and you get married at the next meeting. It's very unlikely. So if you think about all those steps along the way, they actually can translate. And so I'll share my screen. And as Doug mentioned, I do have a software as a service company called Calavia. Let's expand this. And one thing that's very big at the moment, I'd be curious if people agree or disagree, is this concept called signaling. Signaling is kind of in vogue right now. And what does that mean? Well, old school, you would, as a seller, look for an ideal client profile, VP of sales in my world, right? I'm looking to sell to salespeople, CEO, this industry, this location. That's what I'm looking for. Can you introduce me to one of those people? I'd say today that's a waste of time. I mean, it's nice. Yeah, I got someone. I can, or if you're doing mass prospecting, I would argue that you're still wasting your time. Why? Because you have no idea if that person is interested or giving any signals online that they might be interested. And so we've been researching a bunch of different services, and there's one called Tavily. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. So we integrated Tavily, which is a signaling API software. It's pretty powerful. And I'll show you how it works just quickly in a real sense. So here I have my company, right? Ideal customers, B2B, particularly those in the growth phase, looking for scalable and repeatable sales process. And now I got a bunch of companies. And these companies are in my list, and I might say, all right, here's a summary. All right, very nice. Let's research them and let's look for signals. So our app summarizes the 5 signals for each company. If I like them, I might do a deeper dive and I can link to all of these press releases and whatever. And then I might select all of them or some of them and then decide to get contacts. Now I know who the contacts are, their LinkedIn profiles, if I can find them, etc. And then when I get the contacts, now it's game on. We've gotten out of the bar and now we're into the first date. Let's see if I can reach out to this person and they're willing to have a conversation. So like an invitation. And that would be a bunch of people. So this is what we use, but you could use anything. We use signaling again, but instead of signaling on a company, we're signaling on a person, right? So here's an example. This person didn't score very high, but just to show you, we can do some research on this person. Got their LinkedIn information. I got their email address. And here we go, Cameron. We've got some locations where he may have done a video. He may be posting. He may be signaling. Not a lot because he didn't score very high, but right away I might want to shoot this guy an email. And the AI, as Doug had mentioned, so we got AI, it takes those signals for that person plus what you do, and then you can literally open this in email and draft up an email and you're good to go. You can change this, like I could add my calendar. Hey, you want to have a meeting? Here's my calendar. So what am I saying? I'm saying that there are apps, there are ways that you can go from zero to hero in this environment. So I wanted you to just get a sense of that, and then I'll show you one more thing, and that is that when you've gotten the people that you want, you would go, we have this thing, these are the steps. Well, we talk about you spark a relationship, you engage, it's a strong relationship. Maybe it's a dormant relationship and reignite. So those steps I was talking about, first date, second date opportunities, are mapped out. You don't have to use anything like what I'm showing you, but what today I want to leave you with this concept of at least it might not be a bad idea to begin to create for yourself a set of steps that get you from initial outreach introduction all the way to a warm relationship. And I'm sad to report that most people are not doing that because they want the shortcut. Like, can you give me a referral where they're ready to buy now, please? And that's very unlikely.
What do you think of that, Bernard? That's an area of your expertise as well, right? Making that connection.
Yeah, I think what Charles is saying is very appropriate for right now. You have to, I think someone commented as well, there's this sales and marketing, right? Prospecting versus attraction. And I think companies have to have both. I mean, there's strong sales-led organizations, but there's also strong marketing-led organizations. If an organization sits in the middle, that's where all the magic happens, right? I always think about this analogy to golf, right? And I don't play golf, but from what I hear is if you have a great driver, you can hit that ball really far, close to the hole. And then sales could just tap it in. So if you have really good marketing, you hit that ball once, it gets really close to the hole and you tap it in. If you have really bad marketing, you have to keep on chipping away at that ball a number of times. And then finally the sales team can hopefully knock it in. What Charles is saying is there's both, right? I think this is a great conversation because now we're coming from both angles. Is you have to do prospecting. You can't just sit at home. There's no money at home. I told my wife, we gotta get out. We gotta meet people. There's no money at home, right? You gotta go meet people. Charles has built a system to meet people, right? And I've built a system to attract them, right? But if you sit in the middle, fantastic. If you have both sides of the coin.
Sounds good. Dennis, you're an expert as well on sales, and you're also connected to Guillaume, who's going to be speaking today. Any reaction
Correct.
so far to the comments by Bernard?
No, these guys have been brilliant, and I really got a lot of information from both Bernard and Charles. And Charles, I'm currently in the Villages in Florida, so I'm going to be going out to dinner tonight, and I'm going to apply some of your techniques in that bar, and we'll see what happens. But it should be a pretty target-rich environment there, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, regardless of that, getting point to the back off the dating concept. Yeah, privileged to be on here with everybody. I'm going to be on the Central Florida doing sales training on Tuesday for a half hour with the Central Florida Global Chamber, and looking forward to that. It's a really great opportunity. And Doug, you've given me opportunities because of Donald. And Donald, thank you again for getting me involved in this fantastic organization. And because of that, one of the things is I had a chance to run into somebody who's on the call right now, Guillaume. And Guillaume is a very fascinating individual who'll share what he does, but he's helped me launch my own podcast. And I started it this week, producing shows. It's going to be on there. And Bernard, I like the idea of the shorts. They're going to produce those for me to promote my podcast on all the different distribution, like Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, you name it. And Guillaume can share some of that. But it's a fascinating world that we're in right now. And the core is a 5-letter word: trust. People are leery of AI. People are leery of the good in this video. And search engine optimization is basically non-existent. So you've got to establish your credibility through media. And what you've done, Bernard, is you nailed it on the head. And Charles, your approach and communication is spot on, and your use of technology to get in front of people. I mean, it's fabulous. So you guys have really got your stuff going on. I'm traditional in the way I do things. I worked at Xerox Corporation right out of college, had that developmental training, and then had my own business now for 39 years. But I had to reinvent. So people told me, hey, your original Dennis was Dennis 1.0. Then around the 2000s, I had Dennis 2.0 because I'd add new material, new content. And now with Guillaume, it's 3.0. So I'm really excited, and I'm super excited with what Bernard's talked about, and Charles. I'll turn it over to Guillaume, but Doug, I'm looking forward to my presentation on the Central Florida Group on Tuesday. But otherwise, it's a privilege to be on here with you guys. A lot of brilliant people here, and I'm very fortunate. So thank you for your input.
Thank you, Dennis. And Guillaume, welcome. You've got a 5-minute presentation that includes podcasting. So thank you for joining today. What would you like to share?
Thank you very much. And it's going to be interesting because I wasn't aware of what was going to be presented today. And I think it's going to be a good complement to what both Bernard and Charles have talked about. So I'm excited to walk you through this. I prepared a few slides. Let me know when you can see my screen. Is that going through properly?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Cool. So we're on a tight schedule, so let's just jump straight into it. Today, I want to talk to you about B2B podcasting. Now, first, why should you even be paying attention to this and podcast in general? Well, and I understand it's probably most of the people in this call today, if you have a high ticket offer, sometimes, unfortunately, long sales cycles, ICPs, so ideal customer profiles, and decision makers who are hard, if not very hard to reach, and a business basically that is based on trust, relationships, and authority, then this is for you. The second question is, why should you listen to a word I have to say about it? So like Charles and Bernard, I like proof over promises. So I'm Guillaume Jouvencel. I'm the co-founder of GHA Marketing. We've been in business for 3 years by now. And we've launched or grown over 130 B2B podcasts to date. We drink our own Kool-Aid, or should I say, we drink our own champagne, French origins after all. We have our own podcast called the Principal Podcast. Like Bernard, we believe in volumes. So we just recently published episode number 500 this week with as many individual interviews. It is a top 5% podcast globally, ranked by a third party. But most importantly, it is the #1 acquisition channel for GHA Marketing. We signed 8 deals in July just from the podcast episodes, and each deal is worth anywhere between $4,000 and $10,000 a month. Also, this is how Dennis and Donald got to meet. This is how I got to meet Donald and eventually got to be in front of you today. So grateful for it. Then we started doing it for other people. Albert Ramos, fractional CFO, signed 6 deals in 2.5 months, 20 episodes, each deal worth about $50,000 a year. Tersh Bissett became one of, if not the #1 influencer in his space, built 2 7-figure businesses out of his podcast audience only. Same thing for Paul Barnhurst, but this time in the financial planning and analysis space. Stephen Rodney has a very interesting business. He talks exclusively to senior partners at the biggest UK law firms. One might say some of the hardest people to reach in the world. And yet, 6 months after starting his podcast, he talked one-on-one with 32 of the senior partners. 1/3 of them invited him to come to their office to record the podcast in person. Maybe they had a bit of time to spare. We have more case studies and proof that I can cover in 5 minutes. Point being, this playbook works. If I have earned your attention, I thank you for it, and I would like to walk you through some numbers. There are 4.5 million podcasts out there. Less than 500,000 of them are actually active. On the other hand, we have 600 million blogs. We have 3 to 10 million people posting on LinkedIn weekly. Nothing wrong with that. It is a viable strategy. I do believe anything can work. Bernard has just showed the proof of it. Meanwhile, we have YouTube that claims 1 billion monthly podcast users. And this is not even news. This is from February 2025, a year and a half ago. We have 158 million Americans listening to podcasts monthly, 100 million tuning in weekly. Now, entertainment, news, true crime, the biggest categories are getting quite crowded. And we have some well-established players in the space. I don't know how familiar you are with podcasts, but maybe some of those names will ring a bell. But what about B2B? In my opinion, it's still a wide blue ocean. If you want to build a brand, if you want to build authority, build trust, be in the ears of your ideal clients for 1 hour straight, every single week, then maybe podcast could be for you. Not only that, it is, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, return on investment on your time. Because for every 1 hour episodes, you get more content that your marketing team will know what to do of. You will get an audio episode for podcast platforms. You will get a long form episode, long form video on YouTube. You will get short form for social media. I mean, I don't need to say anything after Bernard talked about it, I believe. LinkedIn, carousels, slide decks, infographics, post newsletters. This is without even talking about your guests resharing and talking about it on LinkedIn as well. And of course, website content in the form of SEO or AI optimized articles. But to finish, and probably for where the money really is, I believe, for most of the people in this call, every interaction, every episode, every interview, every conversation could be with your next customer. Because you're now building relationship one-on-one with target accounts, ideal prospects, referral partners, influencers in a non-salesy environment. If you're targeting C-suite, VPs of sales, executives, high-level decision makers, it's hard to get a hold of them because everybody wants a piece of them. Invite them on your podcast, and now you're the one providing the value. You're the one providing the audience. You're the one showcasing them as the experts. And the doors open. Marry this with Charles' solution, and you invite the ones who give the right signals. This wasn't staged. So Charles, I hope you don't mind me, the little note here. You're now building thought leadership, not just for yourself, for someone else in the industry. You're associating your brand and your image with those people. And if you select them right, you're building reciprocity. You're building trust by giving first, which leads to lead generation. What we see on average is a 5 to 15% guest to client conversion rate. We have absolute sales savages, if you don't mind me calling them that way, who convert 40% of the guests, but that's not a good metric. A good average conservative assumption is 10% of the guests turning into clients. That goes higher if you target them well. This is just from the guests. If you do that long enough, your content will bring in inbound leads as well. Last but certainly not least, it could get you to present to the Global Chamber Globinar. Because if it wasn't for Dennis interviewing Donald on the Multiple podcast, and then Dennis making an introduction to Donald and myself, I wouldn't be here today. So again, grateful for it. Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Donald and Dennis, for this. There is much more to B2B podcasting than I can obviously cover in 5 minutes, but hopefully this gave you some ideas and some value. If there is an interest, I'm sure we'll have opportunities to discuss this more and how you can do it yourself. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I have to run, unfortunately, because I have 3 podcasts this afternoon. So with that being said, I got to get on my horse and ride to get ready for my production. But Guillaume is phenomenal. The company's great. I encourage anyone who really wants to look at what this can do, please reach out to him. He's been a huge asset for me and my growth. And thank God we interviewed Donald, because otherwise all this wouldn't have taken off. And Doug, thank you for the opportunity. I hope we see some of you guys on Tuesday when I'm talking to Central Florida. But I got to run. Guillaume, good job. Thank you, Doug.
Cheers, Dennis.
Yep.
Thank you, Dennis, and good luck at the bar tonight.
Yeah, I think I'll have pretty good luck. All right, thanks, guys. All right, and thank you, Charles.
I thought when Charles, you mentioned earlier about the analogy between dating and sales. You said if you don't see the analogy, maybe you haven't been doing sales, or the other option is maybe you haven't been dating.
Good point.
Does anybody have any comments or questions? I see some real amazing experts in the audience, including Basile. Always a pleasure, because Basile is very much related to Charles Bernard's conversation today, and that is starting from zero and being a hero, because he's an expert, a world expert on networking and connecting and sorting through that early funnel. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Basile, did you want to say anything?
Well, yeah, well, thank you very much. It was great. All the presenters were fantastic, really. And there's always a lot to be learned from other people who I respect people who have spent time in their craft. I do hire coaches myself because in some other area, but they always have something. They went where you have never been. You know, I always tell people, respect them, follow them, don't pay really attention. Open yourself, because one advice can change your whole life. Of all the speakers we have here today, one single thing can totally change the trajectory in your business. So I thank you very much, and I very much think the way you guys presented, and I totally agree with you. Thank you.
One post away. I've heard somebody wise say that. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. Guillaume, are you a member of a chamber?
I was just invited to present here, definitely looking into it, but not yet.
Doug has an application for you, just so you know.
Excellent. We'll look into it. And I'm
Okay,
waiting for the follow-up from Doug by text, messages, and the meeting in my calendar to follow up on this.
We'd love to have you at the chamber. That's what I mean by that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a little bit unusual, but what I got was a very strong testimonial, both from Dennis and from Donald. And so I thought, okay, this is probably okay risk based on what I see of his profile and based on two people saying thumbs up. So a little bit of unusual case, but definitely, Guillaume, you passed the test, and we all invite you in.
Thank you very much.
Stephanie Gross is north of the border, and so it's probably a little bit cooler, and it's hopefully the fires are out as well. Stephanie, you aren't, marketing and sales isn't your focus, but business is. You're an expert on building your own business. And so I don't know, do you have any reaction to what you've heard here today? Anything that you would like to share?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I've been having some connectivity issues since on my computer since Windows 10 has been not updated. It like clicked right off, and now I can't have any audio on my PC. So I don't know if anybody else has experienced that. I'm on my phone and PC here. I did connect with several of you on LinkedIn, by the way, because that's what you do when you're in sales and networking. So my name is Stephanie Gross. I'm in Alberta, Canada, right in between Edmonton and Calgary. Hockey. So I've actually done some major pivoting in this business since I met you, Doug, and just really focused on that signal and really just filtering out all the noise, the sunken fallacy really hit me hard. I threw out like 95% of my business in the past month and really focused on that one piece of gold that is in the business that I'd never finished, which is owning that we are the world's largest non-plastic based machine washable incontinence product. So from newborn to end of life, the baby boomers are really starting to get into that need. And so we work with merino wool and natural fibers, and we manufacture here in Canada, which is a really big deal as well. And I'm using, and I think all the things with AI and social media, something that Bernard, you said, social media is free. And I think that that is such an accurate thing. I've really looked into the meta, like the paid ads and everything, and it just seems like a bunch of nonsense. I would rather support other businesses and resharing their things. And I'm a very, very good podcast guest, by the way. I don't have the bandwidth to be a host at this point, but I've been on about 20 podcasts and I quite enjoy it. And public speaking and getting involved. And just, I think when you can collaborate, genuinely and authentically share that story and give that space to be able to talk. And then that's where the magic comes in. And AI, and that was another thing that you said, Bernard, was the AI enhances people, right? And it enhances the laziness in the people that are just not doing anything and want to use it as a tool to do less, but the ones that want to use it as a tool to do more and enhance and amplify their message and what they're doing, and just taking that mundane out of what you're doing. I think it's just so critical. HTML dashboards, and not having to. I was just scrolling through your some of your posts here. Sorry, I went down the rabbit hole of Bernard's socials just while we were talking. And your mind is for thinking, not sorting, and empty it daily. I think that's such a critical thing, like as business owners and people that are really high performers. It can just, like, by the end of the day, I just feel like the computer in my brain is like the high energy spinning, the fan trying to, and I just think that that's really good to download your brain, and that's where AI comes into play for me, is just making things so I don't have to remember. It can record and not remember. So I found everything really powerful today. So I did put in my LinkedIn. I would love to connect with you all. And if I have anybody in my network that I can share, I already sent an email with Bernard, and I'm sorry, I want to Spanish up your name. My husband is William. And then so it's like Guillermo, and then Guillaume, is that what it is?
You're very
Guillaume?
close. It's Guillaume.
Guillaume. I did send you a message as well. I'm an excellent podcast guest, and I would like to get more into public speaking and podcasting. So
let's chat.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. And we only really have officially 1 minute because we'd like to finish up at 55. So I'd like to go a couple minutes because I'd like to make sure that Mohammed Omar says hi. So only a minute, Mohammed. And then if we could get at least Bernard and Charles a minute from each of you, then we should be able to wrap up by the top of the hour. Mohammed, how are you? What's going on in your world? What would you like to share? Just a minute, though.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Hi, Bernard. Hi, Charles. Thanks for great information. Hi, Yom, and all the participants. I just wanted to say hi. And I just arrived from Iraq today, and we have signed an MOU with the Ministry of Environment. We have a lot of going on, so I am busy. That's why I am not participating a lot recently. Just I have a quick question to Mr. Charles, if we have time, is how differentiate between signals and noises? Because there is a lot of signal and noise also comes with this signal. So this is my questions, and nice to talk to you again, Doc, and we'll have more time to talk in another webinar. Thank you for everybody.
Signal and noise. Charles and Bernard, in your 1 minute wrap-ups, could you, is it possible to incorporate that?
Sure. Charles, Bernard, do you want to go first, or do you mind me going first? Okay, I talked, I blinked. So I would say that's a great question about signaling and noise, and the approach I like to take is a cocktail approach. So think of a cocktail as various sources, because one source alone, you're right, could be very noisy. And the nice thing about AI is that AI will help you weed through a lot of that noise, but multiple streams of signals is one approach. I'll close by giving everybody a tip, because I don't really want to talk about what I already talked about. I discovered something very recently about buying and my buyers. And I would wonder if anybody else on this call is experiencing this, but we send a lot of proposals. I don't know if you guys do that, but we do. And what we're noticing in the email responses, nice, got your proposal, thank you, very nice. And then there's a whole bunch of responses to the proposal. Can you guess that 80% of that was written by an AI? And our head started to explode, going, wait a minute. People are using AI to evaluate our proposal. So my tip, because we're going to prototype this and put it right away into Calavia, is create, you can do this on Claude or ChatGPT, stick your proposal into AI and ask it to challenge your proposal as though you were a buyer. And you can run that a few times. And this way, you can start to head off what you think are going to be the objections that you're going to get. Because I'm seeing, I don't know if you are, a huge increase in how people are using AI to evaluate our proposals. That's it.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bernard, final comments on and including Signal if you'd like to incorporate that.
Actually, I just want
Absolutely.
to say something briefly, Doug. Even the government is using AI now to evaluate proposals, just so you know. I just want to squeeze that.
But who is using it?
Government.
Oh, the government.
The
Got it.
government, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fantastic. Signal versus noise. Well, first of all, Doug, thank you for creating this forum for we could all share. But also just thank you and Cesar and team for creating a global chamber. What an amazing opportunity to connect with one another in different countries, different time zones where you live. Fantastic. I think cutting through the noise is if you share your knowledge at scale, but between that is building trust. And the way to do that is show credibility, show your expertise. When you do get a client, service them well and do great work, then you'll have a great business. So I want to connect with you all. I'm talking about human connection. Connect with me. I would love to chat with you one-on-one outside of this discussion. So find me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat and DM me.
Thank you all. Thank you, Stephanie. Demetrius Evans is in the call. Demetrius, last word. You've got a third quarter, second half update from BMO coming up from the Global Chamber Chicago, and 27th of August, I believe.
Yes, at 12 o'clock Central. Please join us for that one. This was an amazing webinar on how to new ways to market. I wasn't quite aware of all the AIs, but I'm excited to try them out. But do have a caveat. Please know that we, especially in the US, we're under the OFAC rules, and anyone that's connected to anyone who's connected to anyone, especially with ownership, if they are on the list that we cannot affiliate, the government is closely following that. So AI can be wrong, and if they have you talking to the wrong person, and then that person is not telling you who they are, we could run into trouble. So just a caveat on AI, as you know, as much as it's great, they're great tools, we're not to super intelligence yet. They are still making mistakes.
You are super intelligent, and all the people speaking today were super intelligent. Have a great rest of your Friday. Our next meeting is on Monday, so have a great weekend. It's cybersecurity, and Keon Williams is the smartest person you will ever meet on cybersecurity, and there's a lot of AI mixed into that, and our future is both amazing and also challenging because of AI, and part of that is cybersecurity. Check it out on Monday. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And don't forget, be global and
Be unstoppable.
yeah, baby. Take care. One click away.